In the last few months, we have heard more and more about AI, artificial intelligence, and how it is changing the landscape, the creative landscape, because it's able to not simply cull information, but to actually interpret it, to interpolate it. And that's why I was going to read, because a friend of mine asked, what is Leigh McCloskey's philosophy? And I expected a type of Wikipedia interpretation, but it's extraordinary because, and I think I want to just do this in two parts, what it said and then what a friend said. Because I think it actually gets at possibly what's going on about that AI is part of a story, but it's not the whole story. So it's about how do we actually balance between the two. And it said that Leigh McCloskey is an American actor, artist, and philosopher. His philosophy is difficult to summarize as it is complex and multifaceted, but it is heavily influenced by a wide range of philosophical and spiritual traditions, including Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, and Sufism. At its core, McCloskey's philosophy is focused on the idea of individual transformation and the development of self-awareness. He believes that individuals have the potential to transcend their limitations and achieve a higher level of consciousness, and he advocates for a holistic approach to personal growth that includes both spiritual and intellectual development. Additionally, McCloskey is critical of modern society and its emphasis on materialism and consumerism, and he advocates for a more holistic and compassionate way of living. When I read that, I was profoundly surprised because it is nuanced, it's deep, and it's not just facts. It actually interprets them. But one of the parts that's missing, and this was from a dear friend, my dear friend Max Gale, and he wrote, I like what he said. This was maybe, because I had said it seemed kind of spooky. He said maybe this was spooky, but certainly better than I could have ever done, and I've tried. But what it left out, the most important part, is your incredibly open heart. Chris just said amen. Your rich, extended heart of relationships, just as your art pours off the easel into your studio and the world and all the relationships around you and your family and all you share and your deep groundedness and humility and beautiful essence. Other than that, it's pretty good. But I think what he got at was essence, about love, about an open heart, because you can know a great deal. But the question is, are you talking about the human being, about the nature of who and what that being is, or are you talking about the effects of who and what they are? And I feel that now we maybe are at a time of needing to meld when we read something or see something that's created by AI, to say, well, what is the personal element here? What is missing? Because everything has limitations. And I think we have to deal with this limitation. We have to deal with the fact that we must not relinquish our creative hearts. We must not throw up our hands and say, oh, it's over because now a machine can do it. But to really retake, to reclaim our sense of creative responsibility, not simply to ourselves or a career or a profession, but our sense of responsibility to the creative spirit itself. Meaning that if these two sentences about the philosophy and the heart come together, then essentially we're including where we live and what truly matters to us in the story of what people see, whether it's the art or the philosophy or the ideas. And I feel strongly, and always have felt very strongly, that when we can humanize, when we can recognize that our human story is difficult, that to create something is oftentimes impossible. Many times we're driven to create not because we're feeling creative, but we simply don't want to go mad. We need to have an outlet, something to express that which is inexpressible. And this, I think, is why, and my art, long ago I realized the questions I was asking were not questions the art world was asking, it was a different conversation. So I realized a long time ago, in a sense, that was artificial intelligence on another level. Meaning that it had made decisions about what business was, what was going to be profitable, how things were going to be sold, a bit like acting or fashion industry. And when you look at that neutrally rather than with an edge saying, oh, it shouldn't be that way, you begin to realize that, oh, well, if I took back my right to ask questions, and it led to a story called The Hieroglyph of the Human Soul, maybe that's a creative message from a higher consciousness saying, yeah, you worked as creative beings for the world, for kings, for popes, for dukes, for rich, and all of the collectors. And guess what? That's still in there. But what's being forgotten is that whether or not you are in that place, or whether or not you are doing this for yourself, I say, if you can move into your creative relationship and not think about, is this profitable? Am I going to be making money from this? But actually, is this honoring that which is within me? Is this honoring that which is within my heart? Because if it is, and I write something and I wish the world would read it, but it doesn't, I've still written it. It's still come out of me. I've given birth to something unique, and I'm convinced that on another level, that's really all that matters. The rest is essentially multiplying by zeros. It's the noise of the world, but it's not the heart of the world. We're seeking the heart of the world. So trust that heart in you, because your heart, although it belongs to you, is a human heart. So what beats inside of you beats with all the history, all the qualities and conditions, the great dreams and nightmares of our human story. And we will not relinquish that to machines. And if the machines can take over a business side of it, that's unfortunate. But it doesn't stop us from saying, at least here, I will honor these things. And I think if enough gardeners do that, so to speak, gardeners of art and the soul, we'll create our own center of gravity. We'll begin to grow from what matters to us, a new tree of creative evolution. Because maybe the old tree is done. Maybe it's out of ideas. Maybe this redundancy going on is to say, you got to change your tactics, because what you thought you were going to do is now being done by a machine. So what do you have to say? And I say, go figure that out. Spend time, trust your hands, trust your heart, trust your eyes, and trust your frustration, because that's part of the mentoring. It's trying to birth something out of you that's relevant, that's meaningful, and possibly beautiful. And you know what? It's going to be beautiful because it's something that came out of you that needed to be said, that needed to be known, and in the long run even needed to be loved. So remember your hand in it. Remember it's a partnership, not a new domination, unless we allow it to be so.